out some technical stuff. Today we have a very special guest in the house. Morning, Teresa. How's it going today? Good morning, Brian. Choopy. Good morning, everybody. How we doing? Good morning, Danny. Good morning, John. Waiting for Mark to get on the line.
Hey!
Woo!
There it goes.
I don't know why sometimes, it's so weird. When I see you guys go on the line, sometimes it doesn't say who goes on. It's almost like it picks and chooses. Everybody
Facebook
look at
does
Mark's
whatever it wants.
greenhouse.
Oh yeah.
Look at that high vibrating energy. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning. I'm great. I've been up since 4:45, so I got my meditation in, I got my stretches in, I got my bag all packed and ready for school/work.
I love it. Oh my gosh, your habit sounds so similar to mine.
I wonder why that is. Huh?
Oh my gosh. So, by the way, so excited to have you this morning and share your message. Mark, you guys are all going to fall in love with Mark, just like I did. And I have no shame talking about it. He's just such a wonderful person, inside and out. And we're probably going to get into a deep conversation without even planning about it. So I'm just giving you a heads up in the case that we do, because that happens often. Also, his laugh is amazing. So I'll do my best to try to make you laugh as much as possible today. But the reality is that, when people go into weight loss, or they want to change their body, I feel like a lot of times they don't realize that there is a misalignment happening, within our body, mind, and soul. And in order for the results that we're looking for to happen, we need to have alignment. So before we get started, if you can take us back to about 14 weeks ago, before our first call, what your life looked like, what situations and adversities were you basically dealing with in order to get you to where you are today?
Sure. So I approached you lovely ladies because I was actually starting physical therapy. I had 6 bulging discs because there's no half-assing anything around here. And so as I was recovering and healing my body, I also had this issue with my nutrition that I'd wanted to tackle for a while. And like you, I'm a big believer that if you're going to hit one thing, you might as well hit all the things, tear the house down, back to the foundation, and build it all up together. And so I had a number of habits. Most of them I knew about, and a few that we discovered along the way. My big ones for me was I was having sporadic sleeping patterns, so I'd go to bed anywhere from 10 to 1, and then my sleep was inconsistent, so it wasn't abnormal for me to get 5 hours, maybe fewer, which of course I was compensating by energy drinks, and I'd have these extreme crashes in the early mid-afternoon, usually after the gym. So I was like, what is causing this? And then what else was there? I had a pretty bad sweet tooth, and I work in an office environment where you have treats around you all the time. So no matter how much willpower you have, if you're already depleted and in a deficit mentally and emotionally, of course those things are going to, I can just have one bite. That's okay. That's no problem. It's just today. And of course, then you realize there's been like 4 or 5 todays this week. And then of course, my eating habits weren't as consistent as I would like them to be, because we're always doing the best we can with what we have, but sometimes that just isn't good enough. And so I had a lot of late night eating habits, which of course I felt guilty about later, and you beat yourself up about. So in short, I was doing okay, but then the more I actually sat and looked at it with you guys, I realized I was kind of a hot mess. But that's where it all began. And then, of course, I reached out to you guys. I think it was for your summer sizzler program that you had posted. You're like, hey, we're doing this simple little thing. And then I reached out, and you guys got back to me a few years later, like, we're so sorry, we missed your message, we'd love to have you. And then I mentioned my back, and you're like, oh, no, you can't do that. Oh, this is all lifting. It's like, yeah, lifting's probably a bad idea. And so we ended up having our first phone call together that Monday morning. It was funny because I jumped into a conference room at the office. It was the same room I was talking to you guys yesterday together about doing this call. It's like, it was just a moment of deja vu. It was like, whoa. Time is just kind of going by like that. Here we are back where it all started.
Isn't it crazy how like life comes in full circle?
Totally. Synchronicities everywhere.
For sure. So, 13 weeks ago, Mark, can we actually talk a little bit about your back injury too? I remember that during our we've had plenty of coaching calls where you basically talked about your back injury being a blessing. Now, anybody who is in the room, I want you to give me a thumbs up or make a comment if you're currently going through some kind of injury. Mark has a very powerful message to share with you with regards for that, because a lot of times when we are injured, we're like, oh shit, I can't do this. Like, and the attitude that we go into the injury, number one, how is that affecting our recovery? And number two, what is the symbol of an injury?
Yeah, sure. For me, I believe everything happens for us and not to us. Because even in times of heartache and turmoil, there's always something to glean off of that. There's always a blessing under the hood, even if we may not see it in the moment. And that's not to say I wasn't in pain. Like, this all started because one morning it was getting progressively worse, but it got to the point where it took me 2.5 hours to get out of bed. And that's just the rolling, like, okay, if we slowly work on this, maybe, nope, all right, let's course correct and come over here. Okay, well, this is embarrassing. I'm 36, 37 years old, and I need this for a few more decades. But all that to say, any injury is just a sign of dis-ease or disharmony, as my friend Michael Lumen would say, in the body, that it's something that you're supposed to focus on. And for me, I thought it was much a manifestation of a metaphysical issue where I was trying to carry the weight of a relationship that I wasn't meant to carry, because relationship means at least two parties, except for the relationship you have with yourself. But the beautiful thing about this is it forced me to kind of slow down. As an empath, I love helping others, and I try to help myself as well. But sometimes you get a little excited and you need that reminder, like, hey, slow down, focus within, heal yourself, focus on yourself first. And of course, every time you do that, because you filled your cup first, you have so much more energy and space and health to actually help everyone else at a higher capacity than if you try to take care of them first. So it was just a gentle reminder for me to take a step back, focus on me, make sure that my needs are met, making sure that I heal my body, which is why it was also such a benefit to work with you ladies, because you were able to identify during that process where it's like, okay, nothing else outside these four walls, like my temple, nothing else in the village really matters right now. Let's just figure out what the hell is going on to make sure that we're doing this to the best of our abilities, finding things that actually bring me joy and add value to my life and that are in alignment with what I want, and go from there.
Yeah, for sure. So you said something very powerful. You said, when you have an injury, that is a manifestation of a metaphysical issue. So now I want you to the audience. I want you guys in the audience to think about whether it's an injury or whether if it's a weight loss struggle that you're dealing with. Mark just said something very powerful. It is a manifestation of a metaphysical issue. Okay, so therefore, let's talk about that with regards to weight loss real quick.
Sure.
When somebody gains weight, I feel like currently in society, aside from the fact that there's so much noise, right? And it's so easy to get distracted, but, a lot of people, especially gym goers, frequent gym goers, feel like if they have to lose weight, then they have to start tracking all their macros and dive really deep about with regards to their nutrition and geek out on their nutrition timing and blah blah blah. Meanwhile, even when you came up to me, with this situation, we're like, okay, I totally understand where you're coming from, but that is not the reason why you've gained all this weight. You've gained all this weight because there was misalignment with the way that you were thinking about some things and the way that you were treating yourself as a byproduct of that. And because of that, you were treating your body in a way whenever there was a donut in front of you, the donut basically took over because your relationship with yourself and with your body was not as solid. Does that sound familiar?
Absolutely.
Yeah, remember.
And that's one of the things I love. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go.
Okay. That's one of the things I love about what you preach is you can count those macros if you really want, but it's more of that last 5% polish thing. And for me, the counting game, again, whatever works for whomever, everyone has a different story, and it's whatever clicks for you because we're all different learners. For me, it's all overwhelming, and it doesn't become fun because I'm just as much about enjoying life as I am doing the things that are best for us. The thing that triggered me with you guys is that you're just like, no, to hell with the macros. Let's just focus on fixing your foundation and finding all these habits and making better ones, because all habits take time to make and to break. It's all just energy, and wherever you're investing your energy is where it's going to grow. And so the biggest takeaway for me was finding those foods that were fun versus fuel, and seeing that and capitalizing on it and having a different perspective is like, well, because you can have some that are both, right? And as you change your taste buds, there's foods now that I know fuel me that also taste really good that may not have 6 months ago, because what my body craved as an addiction versus what it craved as an alignment were two totally separate entities.
That was powerful. What your body craves as an addiction versus what your body craves as an alignment is a completely different entity. And that is something so powerful. You know what? Yesterday, I actually had a conversation with one of my personal training clients, and she asked me, okay, Sarit, if this was the last meal in your life and you had to pick between a pizza or a salad, what would you pick? What do you think I answered?
Of course you picked the salad.
I picked the salad.
I'm totally kidding. Did you?
Yeah, I did. And she said, no way, why would you do that? And I said, you know what? Because the pizza does not satisfy me in the same way that salad does. And then she's like,
feel like shit when it's your last meal?
Exactly. So this is, and we got into that same conversation that when you are your body's in alignment with the foods that make you feel good, and also when you know how to prepare your food in a certain way, then you will want to eat more better food because it nourishes you, it makes you feel better, it looks better, it doesn't make you feel guilty and like shit afterwards. And I was telling her that, one of the biggest problems in this country is that I believe that people don't know how to prepare their food right. Like salads are very bland and boring, and there's no wonder why somebody will go and pick, like a grilled chicken sandwich over salad. Meanwhile, it's loaded up with mayo and all these crap because food is just not handled properly. But you guys, food as fuel versus food for fun, and knowing that your food has to be in alignment with your goals rather than with your instant cravings, that is a huge thing. And I think that was your biggest win throughout the journey. Basically, we didn't say anything along the lines of, okay, Mark, like from here on out, like we are going to limit your sugar intake to, like however many grams. But the first thing that you noticed is that you are no longer addicted to sugar, right? You got rid of your
Not
sugar.
only not a,
Go ahead.
sorry. Not only not addicted to it, we found out that the sugar had kind of gone away. And to everyone's credit, we're working against this multi-billion-dollar industry who spends hundreds of millions of dollars with professional marketing teams to addict us to these things. So it all comes down to control. Because the only thing you actually control is yourself and how you react to everyone and everything around you. When you are addicted to all these outside entities, you are, whether or not you realize it, relinquishing your control to these external forces. But the thing is, when you look for happiness outside yourself, eventually that thing can go away and you're going to be left without. So if you have that pizza, it's like, oh, hey, this might taste good for a second, but I feel like crap afterwards. Because what you're really responding to is that addictive stimulus when it hits your taste buds, rather than actually separating yourself from the need for all those fats and those sugars and the artificial processed crap that, again, somebody has created in a laboratory designed to addict you to it so you will buy more of it. Mm-hmm. And actually going back to organic foods and natural things that you can find anywhere, it's like, I love your salad versus pizza analogy, because what does a salad mean to everyone? A salad is a completely different, it's like when you ask me as an artist, like, well, take a look around this room. When you say, what color is a plant? You say green. It's like, which shade of green you want? There's like 15 of them right here. There are so many different ways to build a salad in a way that's going to fill you up and it's going to taste good, especially if you're using all those different senses. And yeah, it's just, it's having the patience with yourself too, and forgiving yourself, and remembering we're all doing the best we can with what we have. Sometimes that's not good enough, but we're all assets for each other too, right? My friend Kyle C says, everyone's an asset. Everyone you meet in your life is an asset for you. I met you guys on Instagram. I think you guys started following me because I hike every weekend, and I one of my hashtags I love using is hashtag leg day, because people post all these gym selfies, and that's totally fine. I'm not judging. I go to the gym 4 or 5 days a week, but my favorite gym is Mother Nature. And in Washington, we've got multitudes of mountains. And just seeing how that connection can evolve over a year, because for the longest time, you were just another account I was following. It's like, oh yeah, they say some good stuff, but again, we're all assets for each other. And if you have something that you're working on, it's important to go to somebody who's actually invested in that, who's more experienced than you, who can help. Like, we're not supposed to reinvent the wheel. There are things that you are passionate about that someone else has absolutely no interest in. but they can still use help in that area. Just as there's stuff that you really don't want to handle, that's why we have accountants and we have people to sit there and, like, if you like meal prepping, if you don't like meal prepping, there are services that will do that for you, but they're clean. We all have something to share with each other, just as we have something we're seeking from one another. That's the whole point. Is this collective society, like, we all help each other grow together. But it involves taking that first step, saying, I can't do all this by myself. Like, it's hard to human here and now. We have the entire wealth of human information at our fingertips, but there's, like, choice paralysis because there's so much information and misinformation out there. We don't know what's best for us anymore. And the great thing about that is because there's so much information out there and people are becoming more and more hyper focused in certain areas, you can seek out someone who's done all the research for you. That's why we have monies. So we can sit there and say, hey, I'll trade you my monies for this thing if I trade you this monies for this thing, and I will provide this service for you over here. Like, we all help each other grow, kind of cut the bullshit, because, like, no, my friend over here knows better. They've taught me this thing. Like, that's, like, I am so appreciative that 12 weeks is going to last me 3 or 4 decades, God willing.
I think it's going to be more than that. You said a couple very powerful things. You said that by the end of the day, you know, when it comes to weight gain and weight loss, it is a control issue. And you're right. You said how you react to your food is how you react to everything else around you. And by the end of the day, your relationship with yourself dictates everything else around you. Is it any wonder why people who are struggling with weight loss are also struggling with being unhappy? Is it any wonder why people who are, you know, let's say struggled with years of consistent weight gain are also having a hard time finding their significant other? It is all correlated because it is not a macros issue. It is not I need to learn more about nutrition and meal timing and how many carbs and calories I need to eat issue. It is a control issue. Okay, it's all about surrendering and listening, paying attention, being in tune. Our body is literally sending us signals all day, every day, you know, and you need to be present enough and in tune enough to know when you're full, when you're getting a sugar spike, when you feel like you're balanced. And our bodies know what to do. I mean, tens of thousands of years ago, look at it. Like, literally, our society was so in shape. Everybody was literally, like, buff and happy, living in their own, like, little hunter-gatherer community. And look at us now. Like, we're fat, sick, and pale and miserable. And why is that? Meanwhile, we're in front of our phones all day. I remember when I used to work in New York and I will get out of work, sometimes I will get so pissed off because while I'm rushing to the train station, people are so concerned with themselves and their phone that they're literally, like, walking into me. I'm like, dude, can you at least watch where you're walking? Right? So, you know, weight loss, weight gain, having abs, it is all a control issue. It is not, I need to learn more issue. Okay. So I challenge you, if you want to lose some weight, if you want to get abs, you need to start paying attention, and you need to start paying attention to your body because it is literally sending you signals all day. Now, it is very overwhelming. Okay, and if you've been struggling with weight loss for a while, it's probably going to be more overwhelming because you're so used to shutting down these signals that when you start paying attention to it, you're like, I don't even know how to read it. It's just like an argument with a partner, right? Like, in order to make any relationship work, just like with your body, let's say a marriage, whatever you want it to be, I mean, it's a simple equation. It's listening and it's communicating, right? But if you're a good listener, then you're a good communicator as well. It is all about listening. If you listen to your significant other, then you know what to do in order to make them happy, and you know what to do in order to not make them happy. And this is why I always say this: how you do anything is how you do everything. And that is why when it comes to weight loss, it is not about the number of the scale. No, no, no. I mean, yes, of course, that is a byproduct of your actions. But weight loss and getting abs is all about who you become in the process. Okay? Because if you're struggling with weight loss, there's three things that I can tell you before I've even met you. Number one, you're not putting yourself first. Number two, you're probably putting other distractions in front of you first, and you're not making yourself a priority. And number three, you have limiting beliefs about what it is and what it is not that you're capable of, especially if the longer you've struggled with it, the more you've been struggling with self-limiting beliefs. Basically, your self-talk, the thoughts that are going on in your head, the things that your body is telling you that you keep on avoiding because your ego is just taking charge in front of it, and then you try to distract yourself again by choice paralysis, which is what you talked about. Okay, maybe I should jump on keto today. Oh no, I heard that paleo is better. No, dude, you need to just stop all of it, right? Pay attention to your body, okay? You need to just start listening. You need to put yourself first, and then good things are going to happen from it. What do you feel about all of that?
Yeah, it's all very solid information. And the biggest thing is funny when I saw the title of this last night, I was like, oh God, I hope people realize that my focus wasn't to get the abs.
Right.
They're just a byproduct, as you say, of if you think about it, because your core, the main part of your body, same thing when you're getting cold, as it's like 34 degrees here. What the hell? Fall.
It's so cold this morning, right?
Oh my goodness. We skipped right past all of the falls. Not that we had that much of a summer anyway. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay. Like I went hiking before work yesterday morning and it was 32 degrees on the mountain and I was in my little runner shorts. Like, oh, well, time to change my wardrobe. But the first thing when you're cold, the first thing you feel it is in your ears, your fingers, your toes, your appendages, because the body's like, well, I have to get rid of all the things that don't matter as much to save my core. Same when you're losing weight, because when you're losing weight, you're actually releasing the disharmony in your body and the dis-ease. But again, it takes time, and the last thing to carve out, if you will, is your core. So all of that is saying is, like, for me, when I start seeing all that definition, it's a gentle reminder because, again, you can't separate the physical from the metaphysical. Your body should always be a reflection of what's going on in your mind and your heart and not the other way around. So if you're telling yourself, I'm going to be happy when I have a six-pack, you're not going to be happy. I've done that before. When I was 26, 27, I was a runner. I got down to 189 pounds. Partly because, and I'm 6'2" for context, so like I was actually underweight for the first time in my life. It was partly because I had a doctor who was basically told me I'd never see my abs, and that he prescribed me some steroids, which of course I politely told him to screw off, and it was motivation. Like for some reason, there's something about getting back at people. Like I'll show this person. Like my haters are usually my biggest inspirers. Now I prefer to come from a place of love and do it for myself rather than to prove someone else. But whatever fits you, as long as you do it from a place of compassion and not combatants, that's all that really matters. But yeah, like when I had the 8-pack back then, was hungry all the time. I was not happy. I wasn't doing it for myself. Now it's this place where like, okay, again, always room for improvement, but I love myself so much right now, and just everyone that I surround myself with, present company included. I know what I want in this world. I am taking the steps at a reasonable pace because, again, nothing happens overnight. All habits take time to make and to break. You didn't get into the situation you find yourself in where you're in this disharmony here and now overnight. It's not going to unravel itself overnight. But if you have a gardener's patience, realize you're planting these seeds that are going to continue to bloom as long as you keep feeding them and nurturing them and taking care of yourself. And remembering that routine is more important than any fad. Like I was giving you this analogy the other day. Most diets work on the principle of an iceberg. So we'll take this little birdie here as an analogy.
What is that?
So this is actually it's a water reservoir. It's called a bordy. So I use them in my plants. Here, we're gonna take a little tangent here. What it does is you put it in the soil and it has water in the reservoir. As the dirt dries, all the water seeps down into the soil through this water reservoir. So because I love to travel and I also want my plants to grow, but I don't necessarily want to spend all of my time on them, I have them in different water increments. They have different water levels and everything, and I just let them seep naturally. We've been using this as people for millennia. Super cool. Something to consider for anybody who likes to travel and they want to keep their plants alive and say they don't have a green thumb. Well,
I learned
these
something
guys
new.
are pretty much, yep, they're pretty much taking care of themselves most of the time. My little secret. So most diets work on the principle of an iceberg, right? Where everything in the green here is underwater and everything here is above water. So most diets are like, oh, you can get this thing in 8 weeks. You can get this in, and anything that says like we're going to do this in this amount of time is probably telling you something that's not sustainable. You can have success by whatever metric you measure it, but it's not going to last you, again, decades long because you're not building those foundational pillars. They're going to set you up to continue growing and continue to capitalize on that. It's not like we work together and like, okay, cool, I'm done. I've got this. I'm just going to coast the rest of my life because when you're coasting, as my 8th grade science teacher told me, you're actually going downhill. Like you have like there's some energy involved there, and eventually you're going to unravel all the progress you made. The thing I love about what you guys do is you tackle all of this, and you tackle all this under the surface that we don't consider. Just like when you have that dis-ease or that disharmony in your body, let's say it's your wrist that's causing you issues, but your wrist is attached to your elbow, is attached to your shoulder, like something could be off, and chiropractors are great about this. You sit there and say, oh, I've got this twitch in my hip. Like, well, it's because your shoulder is out of alignment all the way up here. Like, how in the hell is that possible? Because it's all connected. You can't separate them. And so oftentimes the thing that gets into our heads, because we don't know any better, is that the disconnect there has nothing to do with the thing that's actually radiating pain. Pain's just the body saying, hey, something's off. And then we have to have that awareness, as you were talking about earlier, like, okay, hold everything. Instead of placating it and sitting there taking some pills or something or drinking it away or whatever you want to try to kind of, that's what I'm looking for right now.
Get to the root.
Put the pain away. Yeah. Well, we like to mask the pain. We want the pain to go away. It's like the pain is your body saying, hey, listen to me. Again, listen. Please tell. I'm trying to tell you. Like plants are great about that. If a plant's not watered enough, it starts wilting. We don't sit there and say, oh, here, have a few pills, have some booze, that'll help. We say, oh, you need water? Cool. Our body works in the same way. Our body's like, hey, I'm hungry. Or are you hungry or are you actually dehydrated? That's the one that always gets me. It's like, oh, maybe I should. That's why I always, now it's like, always have water first rather than immediately going for food. Because we've gotten to this point where we don't know the difference between am I dehydrated or am I actually hungry? Drink something, wait a little bit. Oh, okay, I actually need to eat something. I haven't had calories in a while. Same thing with your pain. Oh, something's off. Well, what's going on? where do I find discomfort? Like just having a self-analysis and just, again, thinking about ourselves first before we move on and try to solve it outside of ourselves. We've got all the tools we need to heal ourselves in our bodies. We are a beautiful self-contained system. We have all the pieces. We've been given that. We don't need that external help unless it's advice from somebody, because again, we don't know better, but we don't need to find, we don't need this thing to help artificially mask it. We can do that on our own. It's one of the reasons I don't like taking painkillers unless it's like an 8 or above on the pain scale, and it's only a temporary thing that I know is going to get me to the point where I can rest and fix it for real.
Oh man, so many powerful things that you just said. So yeah, I mean, we live in a society that's filled with instant gratification. I mean, take the biggest example I can think of is medicine, and some of you guys can disagree with me. I honestly don't care. I think that real medicine is prevention, which is why after I went to pre-med, instead of applying for med school, I was like, you know what? I don't believe in any of this because I'm not helping people that way. By doing this is how we are literally helping people. Our problems is not finding more drugs. I mean, yes, there is a time and a place for everything, right? If God forbid there is stage 4 cancer, somebody has a heart attack, of course we need medications, but let's focus on the things that will help us to prevent it, to eliminate it. We don't need to focus on taking more painkillers every day. What we need to focus on is being in tune with our body. Like we said, our body is literally giving us signals all day, every day. And because we're so distracted with being busy, we're so distracted with just stupid shit that honestly does not even matter, because 100 years from now, none of us are going to be here. So unless you are exploiting your happiness, none of it matters. I don't care how much it stresses you out, which is why I'm going back to the same concept of, if you struggle with weight gain and you want weight loss, it is a control issue. It is not a you need to learn more about nutrition issue, which is why in our program, like, we don't even get into the details of nutrition until the second half, because nutrition is, yes, you get guidance with that, but that is not your problem. That is what you think you need to know better of, but that is not your problem. So getting in tune with your body, getting in tune with your thoughts, and knowing that it is a control issue, not a tip of the iceberg issue, is super important. Food is energy, you guys. The universe is just a big ball of energy, right? Like, it's exponential energy that we can't even measure, and food is one of the ways in which we get energy. It is measured in the form of calories, if you want to be scientific. But if you're in tune with your body, you will also know that food is so much more than just calories in and calories out. Food is, a healer. I always say it. Movement is food and food is medicine. It is literally healing your body. What you eat becomes what you think, becomes who you become. And that is why eating good food is an absolute key in order to get the body that you want. But it is so much more than just that. And that is why if somebody ever tells me, you know, how can I lose weight while still eating X, Y, and Z? Or how can I lose weight? Or how can I have abs with that? The answer is you can't. And if you don't want to change, then you're not going to get it, because nothing changes if nothing changes right here. And it all starts with what's in your mind. It is your limiting beliefs. It's your self-talk. It is the things that you're resisting and avoiding. It is the ways that you're not listening to your body, and so on and so forth. I also love the fact that you said it's all about routine. not fad. You guys, habits are the foundation to success. Because when you have good habits, you're literally cruising on autopilot, right? Fads can only last so long. I want you to think your life today is a byproduct of all of the decisions that you've made in your life up till now. Okay. You know, your marriage, your body, the kids that you have, the house that you own, it is all based off of the career that you have, the degree that you got. It is all based off of the decisions that we make. Now, we all know that we are a work in process. Absolutely. But knowing that we are a byproduct of our decisions, which lead to our actions, mean that in order for us to live a better life, we need to have a routine for our actions. Now, what is a routine for our actions? It's a habit, right? So if you know that currently you're doing something and it can only last for 30 days or for a limited amount of time, then guess what? I will always tell you, I don't care how many people were successful with that. If you can't be consistent with it, it is not for you. And that is why, whenever anybody asks me a question, how do you feel about so and so? I will always, my first question back is, well, how consistent are you with it? If you're not consistent, I don't care if millions of people have lost over 50 pounds because of keto. If you know that you can't be consistent on, eating 5% of your calories from carbs every day, then keto is not for you, right? And again, it all goes back to the topic of how you do anything is really how you do everything. Man, I feel like we've gone over so many just powerful messages today. Let's go over some questions. I saw a lot of things come through. And then before we,
Sure.
and then I have one last question for you before we end this call. Ooh.
Sure.
Wow. There's so much going on. Holy shit.
That's awesome.
Yeah, dude. Can join you for a few minutes this morning. Okay, that makes me feel so happy. How many plants do you have, Mark? Do you know?
Inside there's 108 right now. I'm about to get rid. Well, plants have babies, same as we do, and I love gifting plants to people because a lot of people say they have a black thumb. But the thing I've found is when you gift someone life, they will take care of it. And so I had a planting party back in February, March, and I still have people come up and say, "It's still alive." I was like, guess what? You always had that magic in you. You just had to have an external force to take care of and something that was a responsibility all of a sudden, psychologically. And that was one thing I wanted to tack on. The biggest thing with all of this, the thing that'll get you in alignment with what you really want to do is finding your why. When you have your why and you realize why that's important from your heart, all of a sudden that cupcake, well, is this in alignment with, as you always mention, is this in alignment with my mission? Is this actually going to get me closer to my goal or further away from my goal? And the more you have your why and the more you have that focus, the less you're going to want that cupcake. So yeah, there's 108 inside. I think I have probably double that outside. I love making art with nature and then surrounding myself with nature, especially as the seasons change up here in Washington. People get sad. But if you're surrounded by plants, it makes things a lot easier. And it just feels really good. The air is different.
This time of year?
Energy and color.
Or
well,
just
this time
with the
of year,
plants?
so just middle winter, I think, is the hardest, especially when we have a lot of gray and gloom. I love the transitional periods. Spring and fall are my favorite because everything is either flourishing. You've got this exotic range of greens in the springtime, and then this time of year, fall, just the seasons show you, even if something's about to die, it'll do so in a flourish. It's the most beautiful time of the year because there's so many different colors, and nature's like, I ain't done yet. Here's this firework display for you.
Do you guys have foliage in Washington? And sorry if I sound ignorant. I've just never been.
You're fine.
I've never been around.
We only
there.
know what we know.
Yeah, right.
It's comparable to the New England falls.
Really?
It's gorgeous, except for, yes. That's why I was saying you guys have to come up sometime.
Yeah.
We're not getting it right now. We went straight to snow.
Totally. Even in Cali, dude.
Oh, man. But the colors we do have, they're just so radiant. Yeah, we have 4 distinct seasons, and fall up here is divine.
I love it. Danny Bourne thinks that the title is misleading. I love it. Honestly, how would you call the title of this topic? To be truthfully honest, like when you're in the nutrition space, what people want to hear about is abs, just like how to lose 5 pounds in 5 days. But the reality is that there's so much more that goes into it. Mark, how would you call the title?
I don't know. Danny, like I said earlier, I was also taken aback by it. I was like, oh, but then I realized why you had done it. Like, you're trying to find your marketing hitch here. I would say it's finding fitness through focus, through focused intention, especially. Like, I don't know. I'd have to reflect on that one a little bit more, but it's definitely hopefully the main takeaway for people today is that, that your big feet can kick the tripod easily. The main focus today is that the things that we put our energy towards are what's going to grow, and everything is connected. Like, I wasn't out to get abs. It's not like I approached Erin Sarit saying, I want abs, because they probably wouldn't have taken me on as a client if that was my main motivation. They even asked me in our interview together, they said, well, how is your life going to be different if you don't work with us before we take you on as a client? And I told them, honestly, it's not. Because if you're not the best fit for me, that means there's a better one somewhere else. So again, it's finding your why and using that to capitalize on making a physical transformation that reflects the metaphysical transformation you're undergoing, because you are so focused, intent on finding the path that brings you joy and adds value to your life, and that's in alignment with your character. When I see people who are just in really good shape, not obsessively so, I know that whatever's going on in here is probably also super healthy, because our bodies are a reflection of our minds and our hearts. Unless somebody's to that point where like they've done it for the ego. But again, if you see somebody who's able to sustain that for years, like, okay, they've got everything figured out, because our bodies are this holy trinity. You cannot separate the physical from the metaphysical. They're both one and the same. You are one whole human being. Oftentimes, and this is the space I was coming from, this is why I approached you guys in the first place, I spent a lot of the last 3 years focusing on excuse me, this emotional transformation, healing my heart, leading from my heart more than my head, because the ego is the collective voice of society. All these voices telling you who you should be, what you should do, how you should eat, where you should go. Your heart is the only voice that matters, because it is yours. It is internal. Within you are all the answers. And then I've done all this work internally, healing these two things. But the problem is, you have this holy trinity of mind, body, and spirit, right? Like, by whatever name you wish to call it. That's within you. That is yours and yours alone. Or you can think of it as your temple. Your temple is a tripod. If one of the 2 legs isn't working well, the whole thing's eventually going to collapse. Mm-hmm. The other 2 can be straining to hold up everything, but eventually it's the same analogy as the chain's only as strong as the weakest link. Except for this link only has 3, or this chain only has 3 links to it. Eventually, if one of those 3 areas isn't working very well, the whole thing is going to fall over. So everything has to raise together. And the cool thing is, because they're all connected, if you're aligned in one area, the rest of it will follow suit. It has to. It has to raise. Or if you're no longer growing, you sit there and say, okay, which one of you three needs a little more love right now? Let's focus on that. Get you up to the same level, because again, you don't want it to lower down to the lowest common denominator. You want everything to rise together. Like, cool, heart's great right now, body could use a little work, let's push that up. All right, we're all moving, cool, let's raise together.
Oh, I love it. The power of threes. I love it.
They're there for a reason.
Okay, so if you had one message to share
Yes.
with anybody who either is ready to get started with their weight loss journey, number one, or number two, has already been through so much with regards for weight loss. I mean, I've been there, you've been there, right? And it's just ready to get outside of that, what I call like the spinning rat wheel, and just be on the right path to literally freedom, right? What would be that message? What do you think is the one thing that they need to hear?
Write your why. I am always a big believer in journalism and journaling. So I have 4 journals. I have a gratitude journal. I write in every morning, every night, because whatever you focus on is what you'll attract. Thoughts become things. When you make your thoughts tangible, when you put them on paper, because we have so much shit going on upstairs, when you put your thoughts on paper, they take on a literal weight, and they separate from everything else. So you're able to look at them on the paper, and all of a sudden it takes on a whole new meaning, because now all of a sudden they exist. It's the same reason why vision boards are so popular, because they work, because our thoughts become things, and that energy we infuse into that actually manifests the thing we want. But if you don't know why from your core you want to make this change, you're just going to keep spinning your wheels. And I say this is someone who's, I've been as low as 189 at this size. I've been as high as 310. And eventually I just got tired of being tired. And I wrote down, it took a lot of energy. I basically had to just accept where I was, love that, which was way easier said than done. I feel you. I had to make peace with who I was, realizing that I wasn't where I wanted to be, but I love that too, and that I could move forward. But it all started with writing down why that was important to me. I wrote a love letter to myself at 21. At 310 pounds, I was just tired of being tired. The doctor told me I wasn't going to live to 30 if I kept on that path. It's like, man, life isn't so great right now, but I kind of love it. I don't want it to end prematurely, because hopefully it gets better than this. And it does. Like, I can't imagine. Like, at 37 now, I look at all the stuff I've done in the last 7 years. And like, there's no way I would ever pass that up, which is even more exciting. Like, well, where am I going to be 7 years from now? I'm not in a rush, because all we have is here and now. And that's the big reason why writing your why down and making your thoughts tangible here and now, and setting that's your foundation right there. Putting it on paper and saying, hey, it's real now. This is why I want to do this. And having loving kindness towards yourself, realizing that you are doing the best you can. And the fact that it hasn't worked for you right in the past, that's totally okay. Guess what? You're human. We're all learning. We're all growing. I'm not perfect. I still have things I'm working on. Who in the hell wants to be perfect anyway? If you're perfect, you have nowhere else to grow, because you've already reached the ceiling. The only place to go, again, is down. If you always have something to achieve and something to learn, and again, we have the total information of the whole universe at our fingertips, there's always something you can improve upon or something new you can learn. It all starts with that foundation, and finding somebody who's going to invest in you and want you to be the best version of yourself, because they know by healing themselves they heal everybody around them, and when we all heal ourselves, we heal each other. It has this beautiful ripple effect, and then that's how we change the world.
Exactly.
Starting with your why.
So there you have it, guys. Start with your why, and that is your key to success. Man, always a pleasure chatting with you. This conversation just, wow. Sorry about that.
You're good. It was fun watching the sunrise with you, too.
I know.
I'm watching both our windows like,
Me too.
Hi, sun.
That's so funny. Man, this was a great start to your day. You guys, this is the perfect transition from yesterday's video as well. Mark, thank you so much for your time and for your wisdom. Not sure about you guys. I'm pretty sure we feel the same way, but this was so soulful, and I'm ready to just have an amazing day. Always a pleasure chatting with you.
Same, my friend.
Same. Love you so much. You guys, remember, we're going to be live tomorrow at 6 a.m. If you liked what you heard today, if you could resonate with anything of what Mark said, and I know that each of you guys did at least one time, then please click the share button and share this with your friend. Let's really share and spread the love. We're on a mission to transform the lives of millions of others through the same movement, nutrition, and lifestyle habits that have transformed ours. I think that after today, it is really evident that the things that we talk about are so unconventional, but they need to be heard. So if there is at least one person that you can think of who would benefit from this, please, all you gotta do is just click the share button and share with them Mark's message. It is just like how Mark gifts his plants to his friends who think that they can't even keep a plant alive. You know, when they have a purpose, like if you put them first, then you will have a very good reason for doing that. Only together we'll be able to transform the world. And in order for that to happen, then we need your help. By the way, like we said, by the end of each week, we count how many of you guys have shared the video and who has been the most consistent. And last week, Teresa, my love, that was you. So I saw you commenting on Jeanette's post. You get a free coaching call this week. So I will message you privately. And we'll get that all set up. Congratulations, you guys. We also want to reward you for helping to spread the word because we do understand that this is your Facebook and it is your energy and effort, and we do appreciate that, and only together we can make this world a better place. What do you think?
Cheers to that.
Cheers to no more 5-hour energy drinks either.
Oh my God. Better days, my friend. Better days.
Yes. It's a journey, everybody. Have an amazing day. Mark, thank you so much for your time today. We'll see everybody tomorrow at 6 a.m. Bye, Mark.
So long, farewell.